You still thought this was coming out in 2 months, didn't you? Well, I can't blame you. But nah, we here now. So watch till the end and let me cook. Joining the gauntlet in this video we'll have the genocidal maniac himself, Eren Yeager, going up against several My Hero Academia characters. Although he won't be able to activate the rumbling this time, since he won't have anyone with royal blood to fight alongside with. The only abilities he'll have access to in this video are those of the Attack and Warhammer Titans. That being said, if you guys are ready to see some real epic and badass fights, then make sure to subscribe and hit that bell while you're down there. And without any further ado, let's get straight into this with Eren's first opponent. Eren vs Tomura Shigaraki. Yeah, this fight pretty much plays out exactly how you'd expect.
Turn to dust!
Absolute violation. Eren wouldn't have anything to counter Shigaraki's decay or any of his other broken quirks. And with that, Eren starts off this gauntlet with a rough 0-1 KD. But let's see if he fares better against his next opponent. Eren vs Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Have you ever Googled yourself, a family member, or a loved one and been shocked at how much personal information was publicly available? Maybe it was an old address, phone number, or details you didn't expect to find. If the answer to that question is yes, then fear no more, because that's when this video sponsor comes in. Aura monitors your personal data, including your social security number, across billions of data points like the dark web and public court records to alert you of potential identity theft. But not only that, Aura VPN protects your internet connection with military-grade encryption. It also blocks known scam and phishing sites for added protection. With 100 plus virtual locations, you can access global content safely, whether you're at home or on the go. And all of this for one affordable price. So what are you waiting for? Don't leave yourself vulnerable to data breaches and brokers any longer, and go to aura.com/A-ronimations to get a 2-week free trial. That'll be plenty of time for Aura to find out if any of your personal data has been exposed. So again, thank you Aura for sponsoring this video. Oh, okay, alright, you know what? This might actually be a really good one. Eren vs Aizawa. Now here, since I'm equalizing both the MHA and AOT verse for this gauntlet, Eren's Titan powers would technically count as quirks, which obviously Aizawa would be able to suppress and keep him from transforming. By that point, Eren wouldn't stand much of a chance against him, since it's basically a ninja going up against a regular person. But if you want to be harsher on him and say that Eren's abilities aren't quirks, then yeah. Aizawa would have a much harder time against him, and eventually get overwhelmed by Eren's attack power. I wouldn't say there's a clear victor here, since it depends on how you see it, so let me know in the comments how you think this fight would play out. But for now, Eren's KD stays the same, 0-1. Let's see who he's got next. Eren's actually gonna fight someone his size now. That's a complete lie actually. Eren vs Mount Lady. A little fun fact for you guys, Mount Lady's giant form is actually taller than Eren's attack titan. But that's about the only advantage she has over him.
Well, that's unfortunate.
In terms of sheer combat prowess, Eren outweighs her greatly, and that's not even counting his Warhammer abilities yet. His KD? 1-1. Let's see who we got next. A frog versus a titan. Let's see how that goes.
Ribbit.
The Warhammer allows Eren to basically create anything out of thin air. And just like Overhaul does in My Hero, Eren uses this a lot to create sharp spikes coming out of the ground to pierce his opponents. With her agility plus camouflage, I can see her evading Eren's attacks for sure. But Asui doesn't really have anything that could do some real damage to Eren. Her mucus wouldn't do a damn thing against his Titan body, and one of her stronger moves is a combo attack she does with Ochako. But we're running ones here, there's no jumping. It's only a matter of time before Asui also gets overwhelmed by Eren's attack power. And with that brings Eren's KD up 2-1. Hey yo, at least he's going positive now. Next up, Eren versus Tokoyami Fumikage. Now, similar to Asui, Tokoyami also has the mobility to evade Eren's attacks thanks to Dark Fallen Angel, which basically allows him to fly with his quirk. And his attack power can actually pose a serious threat to Eren if this fight takes place at night. Insignificant bug! Even All For One himself didn't want to get hit by Dark Shadow when he was going berserk, so Eren probably wouldn't win this, right? All Eren has to do to gain the upper hand is transform once again, and we know he can do it at least 2 more times within a single fight thanks to his battle with Lara Tiber. The extremely bright light from his transformation would shrink Dark Shadow to basically nothing, and it's GG's by that point.
UAV online.
Let's see if Eren can keep this streak going. Oh my god, you know what? I actually wanted to animate this for so long, and this is actually the perfect opportunity to. Alright, I'm gonna have fun with this. Let's go.
Everything is for my master.
The last giant Eren fought was 5 meters taller than him, and Eren could handle her no problem. Makia though is 10 meters taller and has a large variety of quirks thanks to All For One. Now, I do think Eren could put up a decent fight against him for 3 reasons. Reason number 1, his combat experience and his abilities with the Warhammer. Number 2 is his stamina. He can transform 3 times in one battle, so if Makia gets him in a pinch at some point, he's got 2 more chances to turn it around. Finally, reason number 3, because he's absolutely insane. But unfortunately, Makia overpowers him with relative ease, since his bag of abilities and his stamina overall is much greater than Eren's. He legit fought Shigaraki for 2 days straight, and Eren's Titan is not lasting that long. And with that, Eren finishes the My Hero Gauntlet with a KD of 3 and 2.
Piercing blood!
What?
Now, this video is going to be different from my usual crossovers, but just watch till the end and let me cook. In this video, I'll be putting Izuku Midoriya in the gauntlet against various Jujutsu Kaisen characters to show you guys just how busted this kid actually would be if he found himself in the JJK verse. Starting out slow, then moving up with stronger and stronger characters that might pose more of a challenge to him. Also, some of the fights in this video will contain spoilers for both the My Hero manga and JJK. But by the time this comes out, some of the spoilers in My Hero might already be animated in this ongoing season. But that being said, let's get straight into this with the first person Deku's gonna be up against, Mai Zenin. Next up, Deku versus Momo Nishimiya. Deku versus Miwa Kasumi.
New shadow style. Simple domain. This allows me to attack anything that enters the 2.21 meteor radius of my domain on...
Alright, you get the point. None of the girls of Kyoto Jujutsu High are even gonna be able to touch Deku. Obviously, I'm using the manga version of Deku at his absolute strongest, but I'd say the same thing if they were up against like Season 2 Deku. But let's move on now. Deku versus Kamo Noritoshi. It's pretty much the same thing here, but I do think he's got one attack that could catch Deku off guard, and I think you guys know it too.
Piercing blood!
Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Deku has Danger Sense, he could easily dodge that. And you'd make a good point. But Danger Sense isn't a perfect quirk that allows him to predict any attack and come out unscathed. Even when he was fighting Nagant in Season 6, that bullet still hit him. And Piercing Blood is described as an attack that far exceeds the speed of sound, so I could definitely see Deku getting hit by it the first time Kamo fires the technique at him. That said, that doesn't mean he stands a chance at winning. He's just the first guy on this list that could potentially land a solid blow on Deku. But moving on, we'll have the last 2 Kyoto students that people actually care about. Deku versus Kokichi Muta, aka Mechamaru. Now here there's only one form we really need to focus on, because Mechamaru in the Goodwill event is getting destroyed, there's no questioning that. But on the other hand, his absolute mode might put up a decent fight, right? Then again, maybe not. We all saw Deku destroy that giant robot in Season 1 when he couldn't even control One for All, so there's no reason he couldn't do the same here. And after that, it's GG's. Deku versus Todo. Todo's a strong guy, that's for sure. His boogie woogie would be something that Deku would have to get used to at first, and that would earn him some solid blows.
What?
But that's about it. Deku is still way faster than him, and with Danger Sense, he would definitely adapt to his technique. Also, Mahito made him spit out a ton of blood after he connected with the Black Flash in Shibuya, so imagine if Deku connects with a single smash reinforced with all of his quirks.
Detroit Smash!
Todo's done. Moving on to Tokyo Jujutsu High. Deku vs Yuji. The main characters finally clash. Yuji's a lot more durable than pretty much everyone I put in this video. He's been punched through buildings by Sukuna. He had his guts and his face slashed countless times. So I can see him taking a couple of smashes from Deku and getting back on his feet. But the battle wouldn't go that much differently than it did for everyone else. Deku's speed and power far exceeds Yuji's, and with Danger Sense, there's no way he'd be able to catch him off guard. Deku vs Megumi Fushiguro.
Domain expansion! Chimera Shadow Garden!
By the off chance he actually could pull off a domain, it'd be the only way Megumi would have a chance at hurting Deku. And maybe, just maybe, his Demon Dog could land a lethal hit on Deku. But again, with Deku's speed and power,
The second user's quirk. Gear shift!
that's incredibly unlikely. And we all know how well Megumi performs against extremely fast opponents. Of course, there's one more thing that could give him the edge.
Sacred treasure. Sacred swing!
But that's gonna be for another video.
Gate of joy! Open! Blast away!
And just like that, we're back with another video within the same month. Well, hopefully at least. If this video didn't drop in September, then I just embarrassed myself. Oh, it did? Alright then, let me cook. Joining the gauntlet in this video will have one of my personal favorite characters in Naruto, Rock Lee, going up against several Jujutsu Kaisen characters. And yes, I'm using his adult version so he'll have access to all 8 of the inner gates in this video, since it's stated that he mastered all of them by the time he reached adulthood. That being said, if you guys are ready to see some real epic and badass fights, then make sure to subscribe and hit that bell while you're down there. And without any further ado, let's see how well Taijutsu does against Jujutsu. Rock Lee vs Inumaki. Cursed speech and a Taijutsu user. Yeah, I don't see this ending well at all.
Blast away!
That's pretty much how it would go. To be honest, I'm not even sure Inumaki could even land a cursed speech attack like that. With how strong Lee is now, his throat might explode the first time he even tries to speak to him.
First blood.
An easy win for Rock Lee, but let's see how well he does against his next opponent. Rock Lee versus his first special grade cursed spirit, the smallpox deity. Now, the difficulty in this fight might actually surprise you. In terms of stats, I'm pretty sure you can guess that Rock Lee outclasses the smallpox deity in every way imaginable. So the main thing to consider here is his domain, which is pretty broken if you really think about it. Mei was able to outdo the smallpox curse with the help of Wee Wee neutralizing the guaranteed hit effect with his simple domain, but Lee doesn't have that same luxury. Since it's a 1v1 scenario, the curse spirit isn't going to get distracted by someone else with higher cursed energy for him to redirect his technique. Now, a common defense against this that a lot of you guys brought up in my previous JJK gauntlet, which you should definitely check out by the way, is that Deku or Rock Lee in this instance doesn't have any cursed energy, so he wouldn't be able to get trapped by a domain. Which is valid, but with these crossover battles you have to do some equalization between each verse, or some crucial abilities end up not working for the dumbest of reasons. And then, what's the point even talking about it? But if Mei's raw strength could overpower the smallpox curse, then Rock Lee could definitely do the exact same, and he probably would mess him up even worse. And with that, his KD jumps up 2-0. Let's see who he's got next. Rock Lee versus Choso. Compared to the last two, Choso's the first opponent that could actually handle himself in multiple facets of this battle. His blood manipulation combined with flowing red skill can buff his hand-to-hand combat skills as well as his durability pretty significantly, which, you know, does come in handy when you're fighting someone else who specializes in close quarters combat. His speed, however, doesn't stack up to Rock Lee in the slightest. It's still impressive though, don't get me wrong, since he was able to outsmart Naoya in their fight even with his crazy speed. And by infusing flowing red skill in his eyes, he could actually keep up with his movements. But in a similar fashion, Kakashi also needed his Sharingan to be able to track Lee's speed when he was fighting Gaara. And keep in mind, Lee was a 13-year-old genin at that point. So as a full-fledged adult with all of the inner gates mastered, none of Choso's attacks would even come close to scratching him. His KD? 3-0. Hey yo, if this keeps up, Lee might just pull off a perfect victory. The Toji Glazers are gonna kill me for this one. But I don't care.
The fifth gate! Gate of limits! Open!
Rock Lee versus Toji Fushiguro. Now, I don't want to be the one needlessly hating on Toji, but Rock Lee shits on him.
Gate of joy! Open!
Toji's insane speed might be able to contend with Rock Lee when he's in the 4th gate, and that's a big might. But from the 5th gate and beyond, Rock Lee just becomes too ridiculous for any high-tier JJK character. Lee was able to catch Madara and kick him in half during the war. And yes, I hear you guys saying already that the QB chakra from Naruto gave him a boost, which is true, but this is a 17-year-old Lee. After he reached adulthood and mastered all 8 of the inner gates, he should be able to reach a speed that's perhaps even greater than how he was in that state.
Well, maybe if Toji had some prep time like he did against Team Gojo, he could come up with a way to beat Rock Lee.
That's what you're thinking, isn't it? Yes, you, the Toji meat rider watching this video. Arrête ça live, bro. Tu fais pas de sens.
You deserve to die!
Just face it, bro. Toji's getting cooked, respectfully.
Kill confirmed.
Hey yo, shout out to all my French viewers. I know most of my audience is from the US, so you probably have no idea what I'm saying. Mais laisse un commentaire si tu parles français. But anyways, is he really gonna be able to completely sweep this gauntlet? Or will someone finally defeat him in this next fight? Well, let's find out. Rock Lee versus the Honored One himself, Satoru Gojo. He just had to be his last opponent, huh? Well, the one thing that's always the main subject when it comes to crossover battles with Gojo that I'm sure all of you know by now. Would Rock Lee be able to bypass Gojo's infinity? Short answer, no. Long answer, Guy was able to bend space when using the 8th gate. Do what you will with that information.
Domain expansion. Infinite void.
One thing Rock Lee for sure can't counter though is being stun locked by having an infinite amount of knowledge flowing through your brain.
Kill denied.
And with that, Rock Lee's winning streak comes to an end and he finishes the JJK gauntlet with a 4-1 KD.
Pussy.
Uzumaki.
I've been doing a lot of JJK gauntlets recently, I know that. But that's the vibe I'm on right now since they're really fun to do. Instead, this time, there's a little twist on it. So watch till the end and let me cook. Joining the gauntlet in this video we'll have our first non-anime character, Venom. But this time he's going to be taking on various duos of Jujutsu Kaisen characters. I saw a lot of comments on my previous video saying that Deku would 100% get the Jump Kaisen treatment. Which, to be fair, you guys made a good point. So here it is, the real JJK gauntlet. Also, I'll be using the Tom Hardy version of Venom in this video, so spoiler warnings for both movies as well as the JJK manga. And without any further ado, let's see how well Venom does against JumpJutsu Kaisen. Venom vs Atsuya Kusakabe and his teammate Takuma Ino.
Auspicious beast summon. Number 4. Ryu.
They may have the advantage in numbers, but both Kusakabe and Ino don't really have anything that could overwhelm Venom or do any significant damage to him. Ino's 4th and strongest summon was destroyed instantly when he had his short exchange with Sukuna, and Venom for sure could do the exact same. His fight with Toji also wasn't any better. Venom's insane speed would just get him speed blitzed in the exact same way, and there's nothing he could do about it.
Kill confirmed.
As for Kusakabe, he did manage to block Kenjaku's maximum Uzumaki, as well as deflect a fair amount of Sukuna's slashes, so compared to Ino, I can see him faring a bit better against Venom and not getting one-shotted instantly. But it's only a matter of time before he gets overwhelmed by the pure strength and abilities of the symbiote. Although they're talented sorcerers, Venom overpowers them with ease. But let's see which pair he's got to fight next. Venom vs Suguru Geto and his teammate Urahime Iori. Urahime's curse technique allows her to buff the curse energy of any sorcerer in her range, and if she really goes all out with her chants, dances, and hand signs, she can crank it up to an insane 120%, which in turn allowed Gojo to fire a 200% hollow purple at Sukuna. So I'm sure you can imagine Geto, who was already strong enough to take on Rika and Yuta at the same time, getting such a big boost would make his curse manipulation way more dangerous than it already is.
Uzumaki.
But the prep time required for that to happen makes this very unlikely. Her being on the battlefield alongside that monster makes her extremely vulnerable since she can't protect herself. So unless Geto can protect her effectively, she gets destroyed instantly.
You're all that remains. Finish the mission.
But none of his cursed spirits would really be able to do anything to him since his main weaknesses are fire and sound. So he would just heal from all the damage done to him. Although it's never been shown, I guess you could argue that maybe among the countless curses that he absorbed, there's a few that could have fire and sound attacks capable of hurting Venom. But we never saw anything like that even when Kenjaku took over his body, so we can't say for sure.
Double kill.
But let's see who he's got next. Venom vs Hikari Kinji and his teammate Uraume. Now, those two are the first opponents so far to even the playing field just a little, since they can both regenerate with reverse curse technique. And their speed is nothing to scoff at either. Uraume was able to react to Choso's piercing blood and take minimal damage. Hakari, on the other hand, was able to dodge Kashimo's point-blank lightning. And if he lands a jackpot,
It's here. The surge of curse energy pulses within me.
Frost calm.
combined with Urame's crazy ice abilities, I can see Venom having a hard time against the two of them. Although, even with all their efforts combined, it still comes back to the key elements needed to defeat Venom: sound and fire. Neither of them have those types of attacks in their arsenal. Even if Venom gets frozen, he's been shown multiple times to be able to bust through concrete, so just like Yuji did, I'm pretty sure he would have no problem breaking out. And all of the other ice attacks can be blocked by the shields Venom can create for himself, so Uraume would probably be the first one to get got. As for Hakari, he can just keep hitting the jackpot endlessly since he gets luckier every time. Venom would regenerate from Hakari's attacks, and vice versa. So I'd call the rest of this fight a stalemate. His KD? 5-0. Couldn't quite get the double kill this time, but let's see if this next fight's any different. Venom versus Mahoraga. And his teammate? Ryomen Sukuna.
What you just gonna do, stand there?
Yeah, that pairing is absolutely disgusting.
Pussy. Oh, hell no. Nigga, fuck you. That's what the fuck I thought, bitch.
Mahoraga is going to be able to adapt to anything Venom does to him, as well as constantly regenerate, so he probably wouldn't be able to land a decisive blow on him. Although Venom is incredibly smart, he was shown able to solve a complex case with ease, so I wouldn't put it past him to figure out how Mahoraga's ability works while they're fighting. Now, would that help him in defeating the Shikigami? Probably not. Not to mention Sukuna is also in the mix, which would just be too much for Venom to handle.
No.
Yes.
No!
Yes! Sukuna's fire arrow was able to destroy a large part of Shibuya, so unfortunately Venom would just get deleted by it. And with that, Venom finishes the JJK gauntlet with a 5-1 KD.
Let's go.
Now, this video is going to be different from all the gauntlets I've done these past few weeks, but that's because it's not a gauntlet this time. It's a single fight that I teased at the end of the Deku vs JJK video.
Sacred swing!
But that's going to be for another video. Well, that time is now, people, so watch till the end and let me cook. In this video, I'll be putting Izuku Midoriya against the Divine General of the 10 Shadows, Mahoraga. But to make things a bit more fair on both sides, since I'm using Deku from the manga at his absolute strongest, I also want to use the strongest version of Mahoraga, which would be the one that Sukuna summoned in his fight against Gojo. So all the abilities that he displayed in that fight, he'll have access to them in his battle with Deku. Also, spoiler warnings for both series. That being said, if you guys are ready to see some real epic and badass fights, then make sure to subscribe and hit that bell while you're down there. And without any further ado, let's get straight into this. Now, although both these characters are incredibly strong, each of them is gonna have some difficulty dealing with the other special quirks and advantages. In Deku's case, the crazy speed he gains when using all of his quirks would make it very easy for him to completely blitz Mahoraga and land multiple hits on him.
Let's go.
But that also works against him since it feeds into Mahoraga's adaptability. Although he would have some trouble catching Deku with his own blows, depending on what Mahoraga adapts to could be the game changer for this fight. See, the one thing that could really cripple Deku is the variety of his attacks. And now, you might be thinking, well, he has 7 quirks. What do you mean variety? He can do a bunch of stuff with one for all.
6. Smoke screen!
And yeah, he definitely can. But when it comes to the main ways he deals damage to his opponents and finishes them off, it's usually just his smashes.
5th! Black whip!
They might have different names and slightly different effects on impact, but essentially, they're either really hard punches or kicks reinforced with his quirks. Now, in his fight with Sukuna, the narrator stated that if Mahoraga adapted to slashes in general instead of adapting to dismantle, the outcome could have been entirely different. Which is pretty crazy to think about since it tells us that he can adapt to way more broader concepts, just like he did against Gojo's Infinity, although it did take multiple spins from the wheel to fully grasp it. Which brings me to this. If Mahoraga at some point manages to fully adapt to punches and kicks in general, Deku would be in some deep shit from that point. Not only that, but the main advantage that Deku simply doesn't have against a lot of top tier JJK characters is the ability to regenerate. And like I stated at the start of the video, this Mahoraga is the one summoned by Sukuna, meaning he would be able to send slashes the exact same way like the one that cut off Gojo's arm. So on the off chance that Mahoraga is able to maim Deku,
What?
that limb would be gone for good. And unlike the manga, Eri won't be there to rewind him back this time. But honestly, considering Deku's insane speed and danger sense always giving him a heads up, that's incredibly unlikely. We've seen him multiple times in the second movie dodging Nine's finger lasers with ease, and if you're questioning whether the My Hero movies are even canon in the first place, well, they are. We see all the main characters from each movie pop up in season 7 of the anime, so there's no doubt about it. All the movies are definitely canon.
The second user's quirk.
So at that point, the main question is, does Deku have an attack that's so incredibly powerful that could destroy Mahoraga in a single blow? Yes. The answer is yes, people. And I know you guys are already typing Glazer in the comments, and you know what? You might be right. But I'm sorry, this whole fight is a lot less close than I led you guys to think with these flashy animations. Deku's full power is more than enough to completely destroy the Shikigami. And I know some of you, if not a lot of you guys, are still going to be completely delusional about this, so hear me out. The fire arrow that killed the Mahoraga that Megumi summoned destroyed a large portion of Shibuya. The unlimited hollow that killed him in his fight with Gojo also did a great deal of damage to a large portion of Shinjuku. However, the final smash that Deku used to defeat Shigaraki at the end of the manga was strong enough to create storms and shift the weather across the entire planet. Now, don't get me wrong, both of Sukuna and Gojo's attacks are still very impressive, but neither of them managed to do anything close to that. So when I tell you that Mahoraga would get absolutely deleted by Deku, I mean that. Call me an MHA Glazer all you want, but that's just how it is.
Black blood! Striking tide.
By this point, some of you guys probably think that I absolutely hate JJK, but it's quite the opposite really. I wouldn't be doing so many videos on it if I didn't like it so much, which is why I'm doing this video now. So watch till the end and let me cook. Joining the gauntlet in this video will have the demon god himself, Yuji Itadori, going up against several Demon Slayer characters. And now that the JJK manga is finished, I can gauge Yuji's strength in regards to his opponents a lot more accurately since the last time I featured him, that crazy chapter hadn't come out yet while I was working on the video, which made a lot of people upset. But things are very different now. And as always, spoiler warnings for both the JJK and the Demon Slayer manga. That being said, if you guys are ready to see some real epic and badass fights, then make sure to subscribe and hit that bell while you're down there. And if you're interested in learning how I make these animations, then I've officially opened memberships for this channel where I show my whole process in making these fights. You'll be supporting the channel and also get early access to these videos before anyone else, along with some other cool perks. But without any further ado, let's get straight into this with Yuji's first opponent. Yuji vs Inosuke Hashibira. Now, this would probably be just an intense brawl between those two characters since they both excel at close-range combat. In his first appearance in Season 1, we saw how well Inosuke could fight in his short exchange with Tanjiro. And over the course of the series, he gets strong enough to behead Upper Moon 6's Daki, and fast enough to start dodging attacks from Upper Moon 2's Doma's Blood Demon art. And in a similar way to Yuji, Inosuke is probably one of the most insanely durable characters in all of Demon Slayer. so I could definitely see Yuji having a bit of trouble with landing a decisive blow on Inosuke at first. Although I don't see his beast breathing being able to overwhelm Yuji in his crazy abilities. Even Sukuna himself starting throwing up fingers when Yuji was landing these devastating blows on him. So you could only imagine what he could do to someone that's a lot less durable than the King of Curses. The current version of Yuji would unfortunately be way too much to handle for Inosuke, even with his talents.
Black blood!
Kill confirmed.
His KD? 1-0. Let's see who he's got next. Yuji vs Giyu Tomioka. His first battle against the Hashira, and a pretty strong one at that. In this case, Giyu's speed would probably be the biggest factor for him to land attacks on Yuji.
Water breathing, fourth form, striking tide.
Now obviously, he's not the fastest Hashira. There's a lot of other Hashiras that are definitely way faster than him, and honestly, I'm not even sure if he's faster than Zenitsu. But you guys let me know in the comments what you think about that. Although he did manage to completely blitz Rui in Season 1 with pretty much no effort whatsoever. And his Demon Slayer mark did give him a pretty nice boost when he was fighting Akaza. But even that wasn't enough to overpower him. And since we're talking manga Yuji in this video, in the same way the demons do, he would be able to regenerate from all the wounds that Giyu inflicts on him with his reverse curse technique, giving him a huge advantage against pretty much any human in the Demon Slayer verse. Now, you might think Giyu could just chop off Yuji's head and that would be the end of it, since Sukuna stated that the RCT resides inside the brain in his fight with Gojo. But I'm pretty sure he would be able to dodge those fatal slashes with ease. Before he even got his awakening, he was keeping up with a fully awakened Maki and dodging piercing blood. So I don't think Giyu would just blitz Yuji. His speed is also no joke. And speaking of piercing blood, Yuji also gained the blood manipulation curse technique when he ate all of the other death paintings. Although he isn't as proficient with it as Choso was, it's still another strong ability that he has in his arsenal. So just like in his fight with Akaza, it would only be a matter of time before Giyu eventually gets overwhelmed by Yuji and the devastating power of his attacks. His KD? 2-0. But let's see if his next opponent can fare better against him. Yuji vs Sanemi Shinazugawa. Compared to his last Ashira fight, Sanemi would definitely give Yuji a bit more of a run for his money. Him being the strongest Hashira beyond Gyomei himself would make him a lot stronger and faster than Giyu in general, allowing him to possibly land more hits on Yuji with his wind breathing. But like I stated in the previous fight, Yuji's reverse curse technique would give him a huge advantage over Sanemi and allow him to pretty much regenerate from everything he does to him. Not only that, but Yuji has some crazy slashing power of his own when he uses Sukuna's Shrine curse technique. And I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for me to bring this up, and trust me, we'll get to all of Yuji's abilities in due time. But the bottom line is, both of them can cut each other. The difference is, the more Sanemi gets injured, the slower and less effective he becomes, which is something he stated himself in his battle with Upper Moon 1 Kokushibo, while Yuji is just going to be constantly regenerating. So you put that against Shrine, some crazy speed and power, blood manipulation, and the ability to pretty much land black flashes at will, and yeah, Sanemi's done. Yuji's KD? 3-0. Let's see if he can keep this streak going. Yuji vs Akaza. He finally goes up against a demon, which levels the playing field a little bit since both characters this time are going to be able to regenerate. But in this case, Akaza's regenerative capabilities would be even greater than Yuji's reverse curse technique. Cause even after he got beheaded in his fight with Giyu and Tanjiro, his body kept on fighting and his head was this close to completely regenerating, which is something I'm pretty sure only the top 3 Upper Moons can do, as well as Muzan of course. So if Yuji just uses his conventional attacks, he's not going to be able to kill Akaza.
Domain expansion.
Which finally brings us to the final abilities that I haven't mentioned yet in this entire video. His domain expansion and the soul dismantle. Now, you might think the title of this video is a bit of an exaggeration, but this here is the main reason why I think Yuji could destroy the Demon Slayer verse with minimal effort. So hear me out. Yuji's always been able to damage the soul since the beginning of the series, and after his awakening, his soul dismantle allows him to do the same but with even more precision and devastating effects. Now, if Demon Slayer didn't really have a well-defined concept of the soul, I wouldn't even be bringing this up. But it does, and since it's one of Yuji's strongest abilities, I kinda have to. In the Mugen Train arc, Lower Moon 1 explains that every human has a spiritual core, which is how we wanted to kill the Demon Slayers at first, by sending these kids in their dreams to destroy them. And if we take his words at face value, once that core is destroyed, the person dies too, no matter how powerful they are. Which brings me to this. Yuji's soul dismantle would in theory be able to target a person's soul, or the spiritual core in this case, and destroy it just like that. And I say just like that because honestly the durability of these cores is questionable, since these kids were trying to destroy them with these little ice pick looking things, so it can't be that much. The way I see it, he can imbue the soul dismantle technique within his domain just like he did in the last moment of the Sukuna fight. His opponent wouldn't be able to counter the guaranteed hit effect of the domain, and if the soul does indeed work in the way that Enmu described it, then the soul would get destroyed and that person would die. Now you might be wondering why I'm bringing this up against Akaza since he's a demon, but all demons were once human at some point, so I don't think it would make much sense for their souls to be gone once they turn into a demon.
Soul dismantle!
And with that, Yuji finishes the Demon Slayer Gauntlet with a flawless 4-0 KD, but you could crank that number up a lot more if you agree with what I just said.